Welcome to another episode of the Alamo City Sportscast with Mike Jimenez and Joe Garcia. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Join the discussion as we broadcast live from beautiful West San Antonio. And remember to tip your hosts as it helps the show grow.
What's up, San Antonio? What's up, South Texas? This is the Alamo City Sportscast coming at you from the west side of San Antonio. My name is Mike Jimenez. That is Joe Garcia. We have a big show because the Spurs got a big pickup yesterday. Future Hall of Famer Chris Paul III, CP3, is your newest San Antonio Spur. How does that make you feel? You giddy about this? You happy about it? Lots of big moves going on in the NBA right now. The Oklahoma City Thunder just a few minutes ago made a big announcement, a big signing. We'll get into that. The Philadelphia 76ers not only re-signed one of their star players, but they reloaded Paul George going to the East Coast, leaving the Clippers and going to the 76ers. Lots of things happening in the NBA right now. Right now, Joe, when it comes to CP3, I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, I get it, but we need to figure this out. To help me figure this out is a good friend of mine, James Pledger from San Antonio Sports Star. He'll be with us in about 10 minutes or so. We're going to go for about an hour and a half. Sports, pop culture, and nostalgia. Not only talking about the Spurs, but there was a big UFC fight over the weekend that we'll get into. Pop culture BET Awards were last night, and they paid honor to somebody who was a convicted murderer. Really? I mean, he was acquitted, but he was convicted in the civil sense. Did they do the wrong thing? Hey, Hawk Tua girl came out of hiding, man. She is out there living her best life. Fantastic. We'll get into that as well. But, Joe, we really need to talk about the NBA, because last night when you heard that the Spurs got Chris Paul III. Chris Paul III, the third most assists in NBA history. Obviously going to be a Hall of Famer. Never won a ring. He's kind of been that guy who has been stellar during the regular season and kind of just wets the bed in the playoffs. That's the historic thing about Chris Paul III. But he is one of the greatest point guards of all time. In fact, a lot of people consider him to be the greatest pure point guard of all time. So Joe, when I heard this, I got excited and I got sad at the same time. I got excited because I heard in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is a guy that's going to be the next player coach, if you will. He's going to be the coach on the court. He's going to show Stephon Castle how to play, Trey Jones how to play, how to get the ball into Wemby, all of this different stuff. But I started peeling the layers of the onion back, Joe.
Oh, man.
Did you know that Chris Paul III this season is going to be the first player in NBA history to play point guard for 20 seasons? It has never happened. Never happened. Has a point guard ever played 20 seasons? The NBA is 75 years old, first created back in 1949. And Chris Paul's going to be the first. So what can we actually expect of him? Because I'm looking at the historical comparisons of John Stockton, Jason Kidd, because those are the 2 point guards that played 19 seasons. So Chris Paul is going to break their record. I'm going back in time right now. The most seasons ever played by an NBA player, Vince Carter, 22 seasons. Robert Parrish, Kevin Willis, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, LeBron James have played 21. 20 seasons were played by Udonis Haslem, Jamal Crawford, Kobe Bryant, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah. And joining that 20-season team is going to be Chris Paul III.
Chris Paul's seen a lot of winters.
He has. And he's also seen a lot of disappointment as well. Again, this is somebody who has not done well, historically when it comes to playoff time. But I did make mention of the fact on Twitter, and our good friend Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Kent's 5 was trying to roast me on this when I mentioned the fact that San Antonio has a history of getting these washed-up legends. They're going to be Hall of Famers, but the Spurs, for some reason, get them. I was taking a look at names like not only Chris Paul, but the Spurs, for a playoff run, had Tracy McGrady in his 16th season. Dominique Wilkins, remember, late 90s, played year 15 for the Spurs. Paul Gasol played year 16, had a good season, then got rewarded for it with an insane contract that pissed off Spurs fans. And the great Moses Malone played year 21 with the silver and black. He played 2021, however you want to call it.
Yeah, I like this comment here from Tex-Mex Frank. Since CP3 is coming over here, he's going to ditch State Farm in lieu of signing with Fred Loya.
Fred Loya. I saw that. A lot of people were like, hey, does that mean that you're going to have Chris Paul III in HEB commercials?
Oh,
is
God,
Wemby
dude.
going to be suddenly a State Farm representative?
Well, this is the thing going on with Chris Paul. I saw the news and everything, and I know Spurs fans, the majority of them are happy with the signing. And then you have the other faction that are, well, he's too old. And like you're saying, he's kind of washed up. He's already been, he's on the tail end of his career. I understand all that. But at the end of the day, I remember we had a conversation earlier on in the season, and we were talking about this scenario. If Chris Paul had become available in free agency, should the Spurs go and look at him and add him to the team? I think it's a smart pickup by the Spurs for the fact that it's just a one-year rental. You're getting a veteran point guard. You already have, you're going to add him to the roster, right? So you have Chris Paul, you have Devontae Graham, right, as your point guards, and you have Trey Jones. Devontae Graham, he could be the odd man, out because right now his contract is not guaranteed, but it's going to become fully guaranteed. It was supposed to be fully guaranteed on the 1st, but they moved it back to the 8th. And I think what the Spurs are doing is they might be shopping him around to see if they can get rid of him via trade. If not, they might let him walk.
It sends signals that the Spurs were going to do something. That they were going to pick up a name, right? Yeah. That was the Brian Windhorst when they pushed back Devontae Graham.
The finger, yeah.
The decision to do this, I think people are thinking that I'm against this. Okay, it's just that I'm not very like, oh my God, I'm not wowed and floored by it all.
It's not the signing that Spurs fans were expecting.
Well, I think the problem is that it is a smart decision to do to get Chris Paul III.
Absolutely.
The problem is that it's smart based on what the Spurs have done in previous years, and they painted themselves into a corner, the Spurs franchise. So it's not smart because it's a great signing. It's smart based on the calculations that the Spurs pop in the front office have done, Brian Wright, R.C. Buford, that they have done. They painted themselves into this corner where they need this because Trey Jones is not going to be leading a playoff team far. Okay.
Not at all, man.
Stephon Castle, number 4 overall pick. I'm a big fan. He was my favorite college player last year. Rookie season. To have Chris Paul there is amazing. But I put a GIF out there on Twitter. What did the Spurs just do? Punt.
They did. They did punt.
This is the official. We're punting on this season, and that's why I'm feeling ugly today. It's because I knew it, and it's kind of like the realization that, oh my God, we're going to be a 28-30 win team next year.
Exactly. You're going to get a little better, but not too much better. You still want to be in that mix for a top 10 pick.
And we're so far away from being a relevant team.
But that's what happens with this Chris Paul signing is that the Spurs do this. They save money because they're only getting them at 11 mil, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is, you're going to be able to save that cap space for next year's draft,
right? And free agency, and that's what they're doing. They're basically saying Jerry Jones all in. We're like, no, not all in yet.
Not this season.
We're all in next year. So the Spurs are going to go off and lose a crap ton of games next year. I don't care if Wemby goes out there and is a top 10 player in the NBA, balls out. This team is not going to be
29, maybe 29 wins, maybe
29, 30, maybe 32 at the cap.
Yeah,
that's basically it. And it's ugly because you see other teams kind of reloading right now because my goodness, Adrian Wojnarowski is working overtime today. Not only did he drop the bomb at 2:30 a.m. that Paul George is going to Philadelphia, but he just posted within the past hour that ESPN sources are telling him that free agent center Isaiah Hartenstein, one of the best free agents of this class, has agreed to a 3-year deal with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
The Oklahoma City
getting even better.
Yeah, you know what? That Paul George signing with Philadelphia, does that make Philadelphia an instant contender? I would think so. They have a really good team. The problem is, can Embiid and Paul stay healthy?
Right.
If that team can stay healthy, I absolutely believe they're going to contend for a chip.
It's an arms race.
Yeah.
Right. And we only have one arm. That's the thing. It's an arms race. What's it called? Sam Salinas has a very good point right there saying, let me get this straight. This is not a Brian Wright signing. This is the old man CP3 jumping at the opportunity to play for Pop, not realizing Pop is the problem and not the coach he once was. I posted on Twitter earlier this morning that if you combine the ages of our head coach and our starting point guard, it is 114. 114 years is the combined age of Pop and CP3. If you combine the ages of Jason Kidd and Luka Doncic over in Dallas at 76, if you combine the age of Joe Mazzulla and Drew Holiday is like 34 years old. You combine those at 70, but you combine the head coach of Oklahoma City Thunder and their star point guard, SGA, 63. Think about that. The Thunder, who just got Hartenstein, right? Who got J-Dub. We passed up on J-Dub to get Sohan. You see that team that over there, the moves that they're making. A lot of Spurs fans are like, well, the Spurs are playing chess right now. No. Oklahoma City's playing chess.
Yeah.
We're still playing checkers. Because we haven't made any moves. All the pieces of the board are still there. We have not made one damn move other than the fact that we had a 14% chance of getting Victor Wembanyama and we lucked into it.
Yeah, that was a big move.
It wasn't a move. It was a luck.
No, I know that, but I'm saying
fortunate.
That was a big move for the Spurs landing that number 1 overall pick.
Very fortunate. We're going to have James Pledger from San Antonio Sportscast on in a while, Midtown Texas, saying we're not playing chess, we're playing marbles. Again, you can be part of this lovely podcast by joining our YouTube stream. And it's funny because whenever I'm just calling up facts and people are like, you're being a hater. The facts are the Spurs have a super old head coach who's not going to be a part of the team's future. So why is he there? We have Chris Paul III, who I guess is going to come in as a mentor position. But come on, man. Injuries are going to catch up to him. He's going to go out there. He's going to play 50, 52 games. He's going to be injured half the season. And he's going to be Going back in time, I mentioned that Jason Kidd and John Stockton had the record along with CP3 for the longest tenures as point guards in the NBA. The final season of John Stockton, he had 10 points per game, 7.7 assists. Jason Kidd averaged 6 points, 3 assists. That's why I look at the Chris Paul signing and think to myself, Father Time is undefeated. You're telling me that somebody who's going to play 20 years in the NBA at starting point guard, as great as he is going to go put up numbers? Out of your mind. Father Time is undefeated.
Look at this. Tim Gonzalez is asking a question. He says, Mike and Joe question I asked Rudy, Derek, and Gio last week on Sweep the League.
Yeah.
He says, I'm asked y'all too, should the Spurs sign Seth Curry? Why?
He's just players. Oh, but the Spurs made moves this weekend. We might make a deal with Mamu, Dave Jr., whoever the hell that is.
And they still might potentially be able to re-sign Dominic Barlow, who they went ahead and
let
him become an unrestricted free agent.
Dude, the number of Spurs fans on Twitter who are like, dude, Dominic Barlow, I cannot believe we're getting rid of Dominic Barlow. He averaged 4 points per game, dude. He's just a guy. Why?
He's a forward.
The media, dude, these guys suck. They all do. Yeah. Except for a handful of Spurs.
They have to. The thing is, at the end of the day, I know that these Spurs fans get enamored with these players, but it's a business.
It's because they wear silver and black.
They like the player, and I get it. I mean, he's not a bad player. You know, he did perform quite well near the end of the season when Zach Collins was injured. He got some minutes. Great for the young man. But at the end of the day, you have to make roster moves because you've already have these young guys that you got in the draft. Somebody's got to go.
Do you think the Spurs, I'm not saying this to you,
yeah.
but I'm saying Spurs fan, do you think the Spurs are really going to make the playoffs? Holding on to a collection of second-round draft picks who made the team or players that just bounced around the NBA and G League and ended up on the Spurs because, oh my God, Dominic Barlow showed that he could score 7 points in a game. Come on, man. I think Midtown's right. We are playing.
We got Pledge on standby.
We are playing marbles right now.
Pledge is ready, man.
We're not playing chess again. And if Pledger didn't miss this part of it, I was talking about the fact that it was a good move. It's a good move based on what the Spurs have done the last 2 seasons. But it's also my realization that the Spurs painted themselves into this corner and had to make a kind of a move like this.
Yeah.
But my good buddy, my vestie, I love you like crazy, James Pledger from San Antonio Sportstar, host of Extra Innings, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday on San Antonio Sportstar. Dude, my guy, what's going on, my man? How you feeling today?
Oh, I feel great. I mean, nice long weekend, refreshed. Free agency is here, and just like the draft, Spurs fans are losing their mind, including yourself.
I gotta say, Pledge, you look like a Spurs insider with the blazer, the jacket, and everything, you know?
I mean, I'm here to bring you all the news I can, including manifesting something into reality, quite possibly.
Okay. Yeah, well, we're going to have this segment is going to be funny. I might dip out for this one because we're going to have Pledge versus Mike. Here we go. The fight of the century.
Let's do it. You know, to quote Rocky.
What are we quoting, Rocky? I lost you, Mike. I lost your audio.
Now?
Can you hear him now?
Okay, so I guess Joe needs to
I got to stay on in order for you
to. You guys stay here. You can't get out of this.
I was saying like the end of that one Rocky movie. Ding, ding. We get into the ring. Okay, so here's the thing. I think a lot of people think that I think that this is a bad move.
You legitimately said so on X.
I never said it was a bad move. I never said at one point that this was a bad move. You see, people are trying to read between lines that are not there. All I'm saying is I like the fact that the Spurs are going to bring him in because Stephon Castle needs to learn from somebody. So why not CP3?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you're going to get the most out of Trey Jones, why not? So it's also at $11 million price point. And you can get rid of him. It's an expiring deal. Fine. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with it. Okay. But I put that GIF out on Twitter today. It was a punt. This is a signal that the Spurs have no intention of winning this season. And it's a punt into the future. That's essentially what they did. They were like, okay, let me get this straight. Our head coach and our starting point guard have a combined age of 114 years. We're punting. And my thing is that there's no future orientation to this. There's no like, okay, this is going to be somebody that we're going to get and we're going to build with a core. I wanted to get a vet to build with a core, not a vet in year 20 of his career. James Pledger, Chris Paul III will be the first point guard in NBA history to play 20 seasons. This is a good thing. This is a good sign. Give me a letter grade, A, B, C, D, or F.
It's a B move.
This ball.
It's a very good B move. And this is what I don't understand from Spurs fans or the collective thought process. Everybody only wants what they particularly want. They throw out these general rationalizations, right? Oh, man, we got to start unloading some of these picks. We can't keep bringing all these young kids in year after year after year. They trade the 8th pick. Everybody loses their mind because they traded the 8th pick after selecting Rob Dillingham, who was picked for Minnesota. Like, I don't understand the thought process of we can't have all these picks. We got to start getting rid of them. They get rid of one, and everybody loses their mind. They lost their mind because they were dead set on Rod Dillingham being a Spur, and he was never going to be a Spur, ever. He's just not their type of player.
We didn't draft him. We drafted him for somebody else.
Yeah,
the same way Indiana drafted Kawhi for the Spurs. Mm-hmm. That's what that was. And everybody that was upset that the Spurs were hanging on to these draft picks and then get mad when they lose them. It's the hypocrisy of it all. We need veterans on this team. We need more veteran leadership. Well, they go get you the best veteran leader there is in Chris Paul. Like, legitimately, there is not a better veteran leader to lead a group of young kids. He's done it everywhere he's gone. He has raised the bar of wins by about 20 games everywhere he's been from the previous season before, and now you don't want him. He's too old. So you're talking out of both sides of your mouth if you're a Spurs fan. I am looking at this, plus there are several talks and interest in Lauri Markkanen, which I have been manifesting this into existence since he was at Arizona. You're telling me that a core, quite possibly, of Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle, Wemby, and Chris Paul and Lauri Markkanen, that's not a playoff potential team?
Okay, so now we're talking about a couple of things. Now, first of all, for those of you who don't know, the night after the draft, the morning of, Pledger called me and was like, "Dude, I'm proud of you, Jimenez. You know, you're very pragmatic about things.
I was proud of you.
You didn't complain about Dillingham going away or the Spurs not using the 8 pick, and you saw the logic of getting the 30 swap and the 31 first-round draft pick. I saw the logic. So you actually called to compliment me and say, I'm so proud of you.
I was.
Now, I understand this deal. Now, I will say this, though. You and I were captains, co-captains of Team Tank, right? Back in 2023, leading up to the Wembanyama pick.
Oh, sure.
Okay. You were the first to enlighten me on the marketing deal. So I'm on the marketing train, but I'm not the leader of that train. I second the motion. Back in the day, you and I would debate this, and I was like, oh my God, you're right. So when you're right. I'm not going to take credit for it, right? But you are the queen to my vanilla ice when it comes to that, okay? So the thing about it is this. Marketing, if the Spurs go out and get marketing somehow, some way, that would be beautiful and wonderful because that is the play to make. That is the best play to make. Saw a podcast with JJ Redick and LeBron James from a couple of weeks ago, and they were asking LeBron, like, who are the players that get you excited the most? He mentioned Lauri Markkanen first.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, Lauri Markkanen's my guy. He goes, I just love watching him play. And that is a guy, that's a LeBron James that's been around for 2 decades and one of the all-time greats. So I am all a big believer of that. You just need to let me like struggle with the fact that I know the Spurs are going to win 28 games next year. You guys just got to let me just wallow in that and I know that it's coming. All signs are there, but the Spurs essentially punted unless they do go get a Lauri Markkanen.
Look, and this is the problem with a lot of fans right now. They won't give this time to develop. They wanted to tank and win a championship like they did with Tim Duncan. That's not how it works. You've never had to go through this. It's a process. It takes time. And part of the process was figuring out who and what fit around Wemby for the first part of this year. If you remember, at the end of the year, they were playing extremely well. The reason the Nuggets weren't the 1 seed is because of the San Antonio Spurs playing the way they did at the end of the season. This team was making strides and would be better next year, even if they did nothing. But they are adding pieces. They are adding veterans. They are trying to attempt to make this roster better. And we keep talking about Stephon Castle possibly playing point guard. Who better to learn from than Chris Paul if you're bringing along this young, new-ish to the position type player? It's a great person to impart wisdom and learn from throughout the course of a season. And then on top of that, with the marketing rumors, a pick and roll, pick and pop between the two bigs getting the matchup that they want on whoever they want at the top of the key would be insane. Whether it's pick and roll because Mark's athletic enough with the ball in his hand to take someone off the dribble, and there is also the pick and pop scenario, and that's with both Wemby and Markkanen. And you put them together in the same front court, that becomes remember how important Kristaps Porzingis was to the Boston Celtics? That would be this on steroids.
Lauri Markkanen is an incredible player. He can play the 3. He can play the 4. I had somebody who debated with me on Twitter the other day going, well, he'll take shots away from Wemby. I'm like, well, who shoots better? Wemby or Markkanen?
Oh, no, don't bring up the EFG, Mike.
Markkanen, just to straight up, just by percentage-wise, last season, Markkanen averaged 23 points, 8 rebounds, shot 40% from 3. Effective field goal shooting of 58%.
Oh,
very tasty for an outside shooter. Now, one thing I will push back on, Pledge, that you said, well, the Spurs played so much better in March and April, and therefore we could build on it. I can't buy that. The reason why I can't buy that is because 3 of the starters weren't there. Vassell wasn't playing. Sohan wasn't playing. You know, Eldon was missing time. because of that, I think to myself, it's a mirage. It's not going to be the guys, because they're not going to go out there and start Barlow and Mamu like they were doing, Champagny. They're not going to do that. Those are the guys that are winning the games. And I'm not saying that they're better players, but they happen to be the ones that won those games. So in essence, those wins don't belong to Sohan. Those wins don't belong to Vassell. They weren't on the court.
Oh man. It's like injuries aren't a thing that you have to combat throughout the season, and you might not have them in the first place.
You said to build on it. There's nothing to build on.
Yes, there's plenty to build on, Mike. The team played well. And even before that, they were playing well. Devin and Wemby were playing well together before he got hurt. Jeremy Sohan became that Draymond Green type player that just kind of ticks every box towards the end of the year before he got hurt. Like, yes, there were a lot of positives to build on with this team throughout the year, and it continually got better even after they got hurt. That doesn't mean that they weren't a part of it, weren't there for it, or didn't contribute to it in some way, shape, or form.
They were not on the court when those victories were had, dude. They weren't. It's just I don't know what to say. They just weren't on the court, man. You know, that's what mattered. Who was on the court, who was wearing the jersey in those 48 minutes. Joined by James Pledger of San Antonio Sports Star, host of Extra Innings 6 to 7, Monday through Friday, producer extraordinaire along the way. Pledge, you know, you and I are buddies, dude. So here's the thing. I just need to wallow in misery for about 48 hours, right? I'm just accepting what is going on. Now, if the Spurs go off and get Markkanen, I would be so ecstatic. I want to be wrong about it.
If they weren't trying to get better, Mike, why would they even be having these conversations with Utah?
Right.
You have to let this play out. You can't wallow in self-pity for 48 minutes or hours or whatever it needs to be. You need to wait to see the whole picture play out. When free agency's over, when everybody departs for Europe and everything shuts down until training camp, then you can make a final decision and judgment. But you're jumping to too quick a conclusion on things. That's not how this works. It is a process. You can't do everything in 30 seconds. You can't build an entire roster in 30 seconds. It's not possible.
I like it. Pledge is cooking you, man.
No, well, he's not cooking me. The reason why is because we saw this play out last year, and the Spurs did absolutely nothing in free agency. And what did they do? What did the Spurs do? Because you have to have an NBA rule that 90% of the salary cap needs to be used, and they didn't use it, which means that they had to disperse and give everybody a raise because they did nothing. I feel like Cowboy fan. Okay, I feel like Cowboy fan when it comes to Jerry Jones. Now, what Pledge is saying is right, but what I'm saying is that I don't have faith that anything's going to happen. That's the difference there. It's whether or not you have faith, because you can look at an OKC who's a small market team and realize that Presti and fellas are going to get crap done, right? I have faith in that coaching staff. I have faith in that front office.
Why?
Because they get crap done.
Why? Outside of the trade for Paul George getting the unscratched lottery ticket that was SGA. What free agent until Isaiah Hartenstein a few minutes ago had they actually ever gone out and signed?
Hey, man, they were smart enough to get Jalen Williams in the draft, man. They were smart enough they traded Giddey for Caruso just recently, just a week ago. They're making moves. They're making moves.
How many years into this are they finally making these moves? They didn't do it the second they traded away Paul George. They had to build to it.
They did build to it, but it took forever. But they built through it with a youth movement.
It took forever.
It was a youth movement. It was a youth movement.
What are they doing right now in San Antonio?
Nothing as of yet. They painted themselves.
It's a youth movement, you moron.
I love you.
The flip-flopper is back, Pledge. The flip-flopper.
Alexa, add burn cream to shopping list.
Joined by my good buddy, James Pledger. I love hanging out with you at bars. My Kesha partner, we put on Kesha on the jukebox. I felt bad when Justin Timberlake got arrested because I felt like that ate at your soul a little bit. But we're talking about the Spurs right now. Spurs going out there. The whole Mamu thing is interesting, right? Because Mamu, they're gonna
say his real name.
Dude, I don't know it all, man.
Sandro Mamushkishvili.
He's Mamu. Okay, so the Spurs tendered an offer to him. That one is I will give this to Mamu. He knew his role. He knew his role was to get the ball to Wemby, set screens, pick and roll, knock down the occasional. He did the occasional work.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about that I don't understand about the Spurs roster is that how do you not figure out that the 7'4" guy you go get? I was looking at highlights over this past weekend Stephon Castle. And back in the day, about 4 or 5 years ago, you and I were big fans of Devin Vassell. We would sit there after the Saturday morning hangover, and it was ACC basketball, and you'd have Florida State was always on at 11 o'clock, and we'd always watch it, and we'd be like, that's our guy. Stephon Castle was my guy this past season. And as I was watching him, 30, 40, 50 minutes of highlights on YouTube, all I saw were these lob passes to Donovan Clingan. And it got me excited because he already knows what it's like to play with a 7'2", 7'3" center who likes to do alley-oops and who's athletic and things like that. I'm excited about that. What are your thoughts on the Stephon Castle pickup last week?
I've said for the entirety of the draft process, Stephon Castle was probably my favorite prospect in the entire draft. He's a two-way player. He was learning the position of point guard. He was asked to do anything he could. And here's a great stat. When Donovan Clingan was on the floor, they were in the 83rd percentile defensively. They were fantastic. When Castle was on the floor with Clingan, they were in the 98th defensive percentile. He knows how to funnel things to the defenders behind him and lock down on the perimeter. He is going to be fantastic. And one of my favorite things, hearing him when he was talking with, I can't remember which reporter it was, whether it was ESPN or NBA TV, but they were asking him, about joining Wemby and whatnot. What fourth overall pick talks about, man, I can't wait to go set some screens for that guy? Right. Who says that? Who? Especially a top 5 pick. He knows what it takes to win. He played under Danny Hurley. He's about the little things. He's going to fit in San Antonio extremely well because he is going to do like what a lot of the other players here have. Jeremy Sohan knows his role, embraces his role, is not afraid to do a one-handed pop-a-shot free throw to improve his percentage from the free throw line, despite how it may look. Guys that are, quote unquote, in Pop's word, over themselves, right? And he's going to fit in really well, and he's going to know how to get Wemby, not only get him the ball in situations, but his creativeness with the ball in his hand to be able to play whether on or off the ball as the one or the two, but also his ability to penetrate and still be able to find Wemby cutting to the basket. It's going to be extraordinary for this team.
Castle knows how to close, man. He knows how to close. He knows how to attack the basket and get the ball through the hoop. I'm not worried about the shooting aspect of it all. I think he'll figure it out. It doesn't look like a broken shot. Yeah. But you mentioned Dan Hurley, and I'll echo what Dan Hurley said and also what Brian Wright said after the draft. This was the right pick. Okay, this was the right guy, not only because I was a fan, but because it makes a lot of logical sense. The thing about it is that Brian Wright basically said, look, man, Castle kind of played out of position. He plays multiple positions, but it wasn't his ideal position. That's what we needed from him to win these games, to make the national championship and win the championship. We needed him to play a certain role. Even though he wasn't built for that role, he didn't play that in high school. He did it anyway, and he excelled at it. Now he says he wants to play point guard, so that's interesting because then you bring in a Chris Paul III. Again, I am not upset that the Spurs are bringing Chris Paul III in. I am not. I'm upset with the fact that I feel like this team is going, okay, Spurs fans, we're developing this year. This is another development year, 28, 30 wins. Just understand it. That is my debate there. That's what I have to kind of overcome. That I am.
Then why even be in the marketing sweepstakes? Why even be in those conversations if you're planning on developing still?
The reason why you're in the marketing sweepstakes is because it's never going to be any cheaper than it is right now. Because you have the fact that he's on an expiring deal, and at some point on an expiring deal, the leverage goes away from the team that has him. So the Spurs can actually get that leverage, or other teams that are in the market and sweepstakes to get that leverage. It's also a very good contract for this particular season. So the Spurs have every right in the world to go after them and go do that. The question becomes, do the Spurs have the player assets that the Jazz would want? The Spurs obviously have draft capital. We have our first round pick.
That's what they want.
What's that?
That draft capital. That's what they want. It's Danny Ainge. That's how he built the everybody loves to give Brad Stevens the credit for the Celtics. Danny Ainge built the Celtics with those picks.
No.
He's the one who selected Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and traded back from 1 to 3 to get Tatum, if you remember correctly, because the 76ers moved up to get Markelle Fultz. That's who built the Celtics. Danny Ainge loves picks. Okay. Look what he got for Rudy Gobert.
So let's say that it is picks. Okay. I'll buy it. I'll buy it because you did remind me about Danny Ainge. So that's correct. How many does it take?
I've said consistently it's going to take 3 to 5 picks plus swaps. And I know a lot of people want to say 2025's Atlanta pick is off the table in any discussions, and I'd love for it to be. If you're going to take it off the table, it's going to cost more.
That is true because the 2025 draft is considered to be stacked, maybe one of the best ones since 2003 when LeBron was out there with Dwayne Wade and Bosh and all of those guys. Talking to James Pledger from San Antonio Sports. I don't know how much time you got, but man, I love the fact that you put me on the therapy couch once again. That was back in the day when you would put me on the therapy couch and you would just let me ramble on for time and time again, just about the Spurs, right? And what's so funny is that the things I was bitching about 5 years ago, same thing I'm bitching about now. That is the struggle. Spurs have had 5 seasons in a row of losing seasons. Number 6 is coming up. It ain't going to be a winning season.
No, okay? It's not, but it's going to be a developmental season again. You're going to see the team where they ended the season on a high note, playing great, even though despite the injuries. What are they going to be able to put together this season? I'm interested to see how good the team is going to get as far as taking some leaps there. I know that they might not translate into wins, but overall, you want to see the team getting better game by game.
That's the thing. Can they get better game by game? And it's just one of those things where the Spurs struggled last season. They had the experiment with Jeremy Sohan at point guard. I mean, even he fessed up and said, I didn't like playing that position.
But he did it.
So well, I mean, what else was he going to do? He was being told to go do it. But the thing is that you look at the Spurs roster right now and we go, okay, what is the future of this team? Is Trey Jones the future of this team?
He's a good backup point guard right now. He's
the piece. You need guys like Trey Jones. You need Derek Whites if you're going to win a title. Right. The Spurs didn't need Derek White when they had him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten Wemby. They needed to move on from him. But you need guys like those on your roster if you're going to compete for a championship.
Derek White is also somebody who, makes a good team great. He doesn't make a bad team good.
Well, look, that's
the difference.
The disparity is the talent that he has surrounding him now that he's won a chip with Boston. That talent wasn't here in San Antonio. But Derek White is nonetheless still a good player.
Let's go through our feed right here of people who've reached out to us. Tavarius comes out and says, the only untouchable on this team is Wemby.
Yes.
That makes sense to me. Mario, let me see. Sith Elias saying 35 wins minimum for this team next year. We have somebody who goes by the name Victor Wembanyama says if the Atlanta pick is going to go to Utah, then it'll be 3 or 4 firsts. If not, then it's 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm. And swaps.
Yeah. I got a question for you.
Oh, wait. Josh Jimenez, no relation. I miss halftime.
I was going to ask a question here because I'm looking at the Spurs roster as it stands right now. They have 7 guards on the roster. Somebody's got to go, especially with them picking up Stephon Castle. You have Jameer Boyea. You have Malachi Branham, Stephon Castle, Sidi Sissoko, David Duke Jr., you have Juan Nunez, which they just picked up in the draft, and also Blake Wesley. Out of these players here, you got to make some cuts, man, before the season starts. Who do you think the Spurs will go ahead and start cutting before the season? Because they got to make roster spots.
Well, you got to remember some of those are going, if you are truly in the market for a Lauri Markkanen, you're going to have to match the salary in some way, shape, or form. And some of these expiring contracts, like a Devontae Graham, like probably a developmental piece like a Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley, those may be pieces that end up going to kind of meet the salary demands that it would take to bring on a Markkanen in the first place. So that's one way that you can start to shed some of those guards. But other than that, the only person I expect to see more from this year, that's going to threaten the roster spot of guys like Branham, of guys like Wesley, and everybody else is City Sissoko.
Yep.
He played really well in Austin. I expect a lot more from him this year with the San Antonio team.
He's only 20 years of age. Yeah, still a really young guy, man.
The Spurs have team options this year on Jeremy Sohan, Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley. So if they did need to shed or trade away some, if they're going to trade it away, they can trade it away. If they need to shed it to get a free agent, they can get that.
I would to ask Pledge a serious question here, Pledge.
Yeah.
Who do you like seeing alongside Wemby out there on the court? Because you have the fans. No, I do. I like marketing. But you also have the fans who are like, you know what? Mamu and Wemby have some chemistry. And then you put in Collins, and you have the fans out there that are like, well, Collins he can't play defense, and he really can't shoot. He goes out there and gets some rebounds and whatnot, but he's a liability on the defensive end. If you had your pick between the two, who would you like to see on the court with Wemby? Collins, or you'd like to see Mamu?
Collins is who he is. He's Bill Lampier. That's what he's asked to be. That's what he is. There was an unknown factor to him because of the injuries, but I think we now know a little bit more of what he is, and I think he's also another expiring deal that could go back, that could open up more cap space for Utah in a potential deal that can also help to match, because he's got kind of a bigger salary at around, I think it's 17 million or something this year. So between him and Graham, you can get really close and then throw in those other developmental pieces like the Branhams and Wesleys and stuff like that, which can allow you to bring somebody like a Markkanen in, or anybody else that they may potentially have any eye on trading for. It's going to come down to what is Utah willing to accept for him. And
two first rounds and somebody else,
and do they truly think, because if the Spurs want, they can be patient and just try and get him next year in free agency.
Okay, so because here's the thing.
But the price will go up in free agency.
The price will go up in free agency, and it's not to say that the team like the Warriors, who has also had several talks with them about him, doesn't trade for him and extend him the way San Antonio probably should.
Okay, so let's say that it's a sign and extension, right? We give up 4 first rounders and a swap, right? Let's say that we give up the 2025 Atlanta pick.
Okay, so if you're including 2025 Atlanta, the price goes down,
right? So let's say 2025 Atlanta. Let's say Chicago top 10 or top 10 protected pick for next year, right? Let's say that we give them, I don't know, a pick in 2027, one of the future picks, the 2031 that we got from the other day.
They're probably going to want a player as well. Who are you going to get rid of? Keldon?
Well, no, you'd have to match salaries a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to give up that pick?
Which one?
I know a lot of people are leaping all over the trade, but remember, 2030, 2031, Gobert is going to be 100 years old by then. That team is going to be not the team it is now. And by the way, that is when Anthony Edwards' extension comes up, and he may not be in Minnesota anymore. That could be potentially a very valuable pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 7th grader right now, so we don't know. We won't know.
And you had the same argument with me about the DeJounte Atlanta deal, and you were dead freaking wrong on it. That was the most valuable asset in your damn war chest, Mike.
Listen. That one is Pledger 1, Jimenez 0.
No, that's a slam dunk for Pledge.
I'll wave the white flag on that one. Pledger won that argument. There are some arguments that I win. There's some arguments he wins. He won that one. I'll fess up to it. Lauri Markkanen's contract, by the way, is only $17 million. So really, it's not much to match salaries. I mean, theoretically, it could just be Zach Collins. It could be Devontae Graham, Malachi Branham, and City Sissoko. That gets you to 17. But that's the weird thing about basketball, is that you don't know what's going to end up happening. We saw this right now. So like you're bringing up.
No, it's the funny thing, because you only look in the moment. You never look past the future, and you're bleeping all over 2031's draft pick because you don't see the potential of it the same way that they saw the potential of Atlanta's.
Okay. Off the ledge, dude. Okay, take the gun off my head. Right. The point I'm trying to make is that you
double tapping.
You take a look at what's going on with the Clippers, right? The Clippers got rid of Paul George, right? You look at Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, you think to yourself, wow, that's going to be a special team, right? If Kawhi is healthy. You look at other teams that have, like, whether it be DeJounte and Trae Young, you look at other teams where it works, where you have 2 or 3 superstars, and sometimes it just doesn't work. So the idea that we're fortunate that it didn't work over there in Atlanta, there's nothing to say that they couldn't have made it work had they done other moves along the way. We are fortunate in this whole situation when it comes to it. Sometimes superstars coming together works. Sometimes it doesn't.
When has it worked lately?
Kyrie Irving going to Dallas.
It took over a year for it to work. People were ready to dunk on the Mavs last year after they made that move, and it didn't work. It took them a while.
It took a season and 3 months, dude. They were the number 11 seed. Then they were in the finals the following season. So it took a year and 3 months. It was a February deal to make that happen. So it was very quick.
Look at Bradley Beal. Look at James Harden. Look at James Harden again. Look at Kevin Durant. All of these moves have not worked recently because you can't feasibly construct a roster anymore with the new salary cap rules that is built around 3 superstars. It is too impactful to the rest of your roster and being able to compete. Look at Dame Lillard. Remember, every Spurs fan wanted Dame Lillard. He goes up to Milwaukee and gets a coach fired mid-season. But
Pledge, backtrack here. You can't also just do it by the draft itself. Spurs had 3 first-rounders 3 seasons ago, right? Malachi Brown and Blake Wesley, Jeremy Sohan. Neither of them, I mean, it's possible all 3 might be gone in about 2 seasons. You go on even further. It is a Venn diagram, Pledge. It is. You got to draft the right players, you got to get the right free agents, and you got to do the appropriate trade. The problem is that the Spurs have been juggling 1 ball in the air when they should be juggling all 3. Now, if they go out there and get marketed, I will eat crow and say that I was wrong, and I will bow down to the GM that is Brian Wright. Bring me Lauri Markkanen and all that stuff. The whole thing about Chris Paul.
But you're not even giving him a chance. You're cooking him before he's
been
even
here for 10 years.
You're opening the brisket every 30 minutes, hoping it gets cooked, man.
He's been here 10 years.
Cook brisket.
He's been here since 2016. It's been almost 10 years.
No, like people forget. Keldon Johnson and
Brian did not get here 2 years ago.
Lucas Sandwich and Keldon Johnson, that wasn't Brian Wright. That wasn't even his draft. He took over right around Josh Primo, and that was a mistake. But guess what? Even your dear Sam Presti makes bleeping mistakes in the draft.
Higher batting average, though. Higher batting average. Everybody makes mistakes. No one's perfect.
When you have to tear it down to the freaking foundation, it takes a second to build it back up. We just got done saying this. You keep praising Oklahoma City. It took them over 5 years to get to this point where they were the number 1 seed this year.
How many losing seasons have the Spurs had in a row? How many seasons? 5. So I'm just saying.
Yes. And remember,
has Brian Wright been here the entire time?
They didn't
Has Brian Wright been here the entire
time?
Answer the question. Right? Has Brian Wright been there the entire time? And answer this question. Where would he be if the 86% probability have happened that the Spurs did not get Victor Wembanyama? Okay. So right now, to go here and just say that they're doing everything right and it's a slow cooked brisket and all that stuff, the only thing that they have to show for it, for the most part, is something that they lucked into 14%.
Yes. Because guess what? Up until this past 5 seasons, the Spurs have never had back-to-back losing seasons. They've never lost and missed the playoffs 2 years consecutively. This is normal in the NBA. You're not used to this.
We have the GOAT coach. That's what I was told.
And Mike, what has the GOAT coach said ever since the Big 3 were around? What has he said?
He said that he wants to be the second highest paid player on the team.
No,
he says damn hell, Mike.
He says he is nobody if not for Tim, Tony, and Manu. They made him who he is. It's a combination, and they didn't have the players. Guess what? Kawhi Leonard leaving threw a wrench in this organization. They tried to keep it afloat for a bunch of years with DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, and it didn't work. They were trying to keep that playoff streak alive. They fully committed to rebuilding 2 years ago when they sucked out loud on purpose for the potential to get Victor Wembanyama, which they did.
Let me look for
Now
the tiniest violin.
has officially started.
You missed me, Pledger. You missed
No.
me. You missed.
I
Okay,
hate arguing with a moron.
This is what Sports Star would have been like had we not had any commercials, because it was always you and I cooking each other for 7 or 8 minutes, and then it was like, let's talk about kielbasa smoked meats.
Like, and I get it. You're like Patriots fans. You have every right to be impatient. You have every right to be impatient because you don't know failure. You don't know true failure anymore.
I'm old enough to know how the Spurs failed in the 80s. I'm old enough to know that.
Dude, they never missed the playoffs twice. That is not failure.
I'm talking about the 80s, dude. 21-61, which led to David Robinson.
Yes, exactly. And then they were back in the playoffs. You don't know what true failure is. You have no freaking.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Okay. As the team is constituted right now, no Lauri Markkanen. I say 28 wins, maybe up to 32. What you got?
Team is currently constructed with only one free agency move because it's been 12 hours and you can't wait to see what the finished product looks like.
The good ones are gone. Half the good ones are gone. I mean, if you rank the top 10 I don't
know. Is Brook Lopez going to join this team? Because he's a really important piece.
He's also 36.
Who cares? It's a 1 or 2 year deal. He is an important piece on a winning team.
Okay, so he's going to get us from 28 wins to 32 wins. Okay.
Possibly. Is a lot better than freaking Zach Collins, isn't it?
Sure is, Mike. You remember we said the team needs vets. And now they want to add vets, and you complain about the vets that they're adding.
You are the exact Spurs fan I am pissed about.
You should see me and Pledge at the Roo Pub yelling at each other. Okay.
Oh my God,
Pledge. What the funny thing is that you're yelling and making a lot of sense, but it results in no wins.
No, you're right. Players don't make teams good, and good teams don't win.
Jason Garcia's. Mike is more of a smoked meat than kielbasa.
Oh my God. Smoked meat.
Pleasure. I miss you. I love you, dude. I don't know how much time you got, but let me ask you a couple quick questions real fast. Thoughts on the Sixers going out and getting re-signing Tyrese Maxey to a max deal? Had to be done, right?
Yeah.
Getting Paul George and then also Hartenstein going to Oklahoma City. Give me letter grades for both of those teams.
B+ for Hartenstein. It gives them a lot of roster lineup flexibility. Also gives them something they missed, which is rebounding. It's something that they sorely lacked last year, and he helps provide that piece for them. So it was a good signing by Oklahoma City. It's one of the only free agent signings they've made, even though you swear you want to build like OKC that took them 5 years and now just signed their first real free agent. Good job. As far as Philly's cashing in all the chips. They're going all in. Yep. Good on them. Like, I mean, it may not work, but they're trying. And when it doesn't work, because winning a championship is freaking hard, they're probably going to get clowned for it. And so is Paul George, and so are the Sixers. But it's hard. It's hard. Like, we keep getting mad at Boston every year and not trusting them. They finally win a championship. Now all of a sudden everybody wants to build like them. It's hard. You gotta have the breaks go your way. You've got to have the Jimmy Butlers and the Tyrese Halliburtons get hurt in certain playoff series and face a 5th seed out of the West that got hot.
And then had to sit for 9 days.
Yeah, like you winning a Super Bowl, winning an NBA championship, it all boils down to a confluence of luck.
We have someone reaching out to us from Europe,
the Netherlands.
Garrett said we got our own Skip and Shannon Sharp before my eyes. Am I Skip or am I Sharp?
No, you're Skip, bro. Skip.
Skip Jimenez.
Man. Come on.
Okay, so give me a letter grade because I'm going to give the Spurs letter grade of Chris Paul because we're going to circle around. By the way, Breaking news.
I told you, I gave the Spurs a B for Chris Paul. I like it.
Drew Eubanks has signed a 2-year deal, $10 million deal with the Jazz. I like the fact that his career keeps going.
Well, they're going to need another white guy after they trade Lauri Markkanen.
Hey, let's go ahead and
sorry,
trade
they're going to need another coach's kid.
Collins for Markkanen straight up.
That is awesome. That is James Pledger, my buddy. Tell me about. Well, you know what? Here's the thing.
I'm talking about this tonight. This is the show tonight.
Before we let you go, I'm going to give the Spurs letter grade of getting Chris Paul.
For the 8th time on this show, I give them a B.
No, I'm thinking of my own letter grade. You gave me a B. I'm thinking of my own letter grade. Let me see here. Am I going to do this like the old movie reviews?
Are you going to give them a CP3?
Oh God!
No, I'm going to give the move a B+. To be honest with you, I'm going to give it a B+. It's a 1-year deal. I just don't want him going out there sucking up minutes, man. I don't want him going out there from Castle, from anybody who's going to be part
Castle's
of the future.
a rookie, though. He's going to learn.
Sohan started like 54 out of 58 games. I'm sorry, rookies play now. If you're the number 4 overall pick, you ain't going to the league.
Mike, here's the great thing.
Yeah,
Castle can play on or off the ball.
Yes.
You can play them together. It's not going to change things.
Okay, so Champagne, you're on the bench. One last question to ask you real fast, because I've been seeing people who have been like speculating what the Spurs roster might be as far as the starting lineup. Can you see Vassell playing a 3?
Yes.
I don't like it. I mean, I'm not saying they can't. I don't like it. Like I don't think that he has necessarily the size to play the 3. I mean, that's a conventional, positionless basketball. There's people who believe in all that stuff. But whenever I see people say, "Oh, just slide Vassell over to the 3," he has a hard time defending the 2 sometimes. He's a decent defender, but I don't know, man. I want to see Vassell still at the 2. I want to see Castle out there at the 1 at some point. We'll see what he's got out there. At least he has CP3.
You're already mad at this team.
Give me a
for
stat
not starting Castle 3 days after drafting him, not even knowing what the starting lineup's going to look like.
Give me a stat line for CP3 this year. I'm gonna go with 9 points, 6.5 assists.
12 and 9.
12 and 9.
What's wrong with the assist? If those are lobs to Wemby, you're not going to be jumping out of your seat screaming.
Hey, man, Castle already knows how to do that, man.
But they can play Castle.
Donovan Clingan all day long. It was alley-oop city.
They can play Castle and CP3 on the court at the same time, though.
That's the good part of this whole thing. But
Thank you, Joe.
Like I said, it just basically says development year.
Come get your boy, man.
28 wins. Have 22 wins. Here comes 28. That's all that it's spelled.
I would like CP3 and Castle on the court at the same time because you have veteran experience mixed in with a little bit of that.
Can we go honking the horn if Markkanen gets signed by the Spurs? Somehow we get
it. I am going to. If that trade comes through, I'm going down to Commerce tonight, man.
And then here's the thing: we're going to have Spur fan pissed off that it's going to cost 4 or 5 first rounders to make it happen, and then we're going to have that.
You're one of them.
No, I want Markkanen. Unload.
Yes, but you'll come on here and bitch about the price tomorrow.
Oh my God, we got him on tape, Pledge. We got to record.
Pleasure. There are very few people, especially dudes, that ever end a phone call conversation with "I love you," and you're one of them, dude.
I love you too, brother.
You are my man. I love you, James Pledger. You're one of my best friends, and the fact of the matter is that. You brought the 4th of July fireworks early, man. I thought we were going to have a pleasant conversation. Motherfucker shows up like Mr. W over here.
Dude, I feel underdressed. I should have worn my blazer too, man. Like, damn.
Hey, Mike, what happened to your beard?
Oh, dude, I've decided to shave on Sunday and scruff out on the weekends, dude. That's what I decided to do. And it's coming out faster and thicker. Weird.
Now, you can't grow a beard like Pledger, man. Look at Pledges, man.
That is James Pledger. Watch his show. It's also on YouTube as well, San Antonio Sports Star. Extra innings, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, Monday through Friday, 94.1 FM. 12, no longer 1250, just 94.1 FM.
That's it.
And that's it. My man.
And on YouTube, SA Sports Star.
I love you, my man. Thank you for being on. We got to do this a little bit more often. And I brought a knife to a gunfight. And
He double tapped you on the way out, man.
You have missed this, because this was when we were doing shows together. You and I would just yell at each other, like our blood pressure would be so high.
No, because the problem is you are the Spurs fan on Twitter I am actively yelling at, so you just gave them a fight. You gave me a face to yell at just now.
Well, first of all,
literally everybody I'm mad at on Twitter right now.
I never said I didn't like the move. I'm just putting stats out there. That CP3 is going to be the first point guard in NBA history to play 20 years. What to expect from that? That's a stat. That's a stat. And we saw what Kidd did in year 19. We saw what Jason Kidd and John Stockton did in year 19. I also put up the fact that the Spurs have a history of getting the final year, the final breath of superstars. Dominique Wilkins, right? Moses
Michael
Malone,
Finley, Tracy McGrady,
Terry Porter,
Paul Gasol.
Like the Spurs have a history of that. And people are reading between lines saying that, like, I'm an asshole for saying all that when I'm just
you are.
Stats. When I'm bringing up stats, when I'm saying that if the Spurs have a point guard in CP3 and you combine the age with the coach, it's 114, whereas all the other teams that made the finals were at 68 and 70.
You know, the combined age of you and Betty White is 163. Like I don't know what
it's 47 because she's dead.
Look at this. Look at this comment, Pledge. Look at this comment. Memo says, please bring back Pledger every week to humble Mike with his bad takes. I like Midtown Texas. Rip MJ.
Oh, Pledge. I remember maybe I should tell the story. Bad stories of sports star stories. There was one time when I took anti-anxiety medication before the show one time.
Jeez, bro.
Can I tell that story? No?
Yeah.
Okay. I took some anti-anxiety medication before the show, and it like effed me up before the show started. And I told Pledger, I was like, Pledger, I need you to co-host the show with me for at least one segment. You came in, and at the end of the segment, I looked at him and I was like, what did we just talk about? He was like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay now. Like, I just got zonked out by this medication.
Just go up and smoke some weed like an adult.
I know.
Yeah, man.
So, but what's funny about it was that you were like, dude, you were so funny in that segment. I'm like, the segment was 2 minutes ago. I don't even remember what the hell I was just talking about.
You know what? Real talk though, it'd be amazing to have Pledge here in the studio with you and just let you and him go at it, dude. That would be fun.
No, we need to have a table separating us, because sometimes
choke him out.
There have been times when we would do shows at Sports Star where he would literally throw things at me, and I was like,
"Hey, I'm down
like
for
Greg
that,
Simmons?
dude." Yeah,
and he'd throw like in the middle of a show. He'd be throwing like
up a pen and throw it out.
we'd be taking side bets. Is he going to hit him this time? Is he really going to connect?
Can I tell the story also about how something kind of happened to the audio there? There's also a time when Pledger and I, one of the last times I saw you and I were at the Rue Pub, and we did a fake radio show at the bar.
You told me about that.
So can you explain to the people why you go along with this when we're sitting at a bar enjoying drinks, and I'm like, and welcome back. We're live at the Rue Pub here on 281 and Redland Road.
Oh, God.
Enjoying some brews as we're taking a look at the games, the NFL games, whatever. And you did an entire 15-20 minute show segment with me to a show that no one heard or saw. It wasn't even a podcast. It wasn't even like a anything on Twitter or anything. It was, why would you do this? Why would you go along with me on this?
Because I enjoy fun.
There was also the time that Pledger and I decided stupidly to go to the Rue Pub at 10 a.m. to watch college football games, or 11 a.m. to watch college football games. And then there was something, I don't know if it was
Longhorns playing.
The Longhorns, and then we stayed there the entire day.
Oh, man.
And I saw my tab. My tab was like $400.
Damn.
And I was married at the time. And I remember telling Pledge, I'm not going to be able to live this one down.
I gotta go to the poker room.
So this is a tall tale that we have here. Pledge, did I or did I not go to the poker room and come back an hour and a half later. What happened?
Paid it in cash and walked. Got his Uber and took off.
And the wife knew nothing about it. Paid it in cash, man. I was like, you know what? I'm down 400. Just take 200 out of the ATM. Came out with 7. I even profited that day. I had like an extra $100 of what I started with. But that is pleasure, man. My guy, love you, my man. Love you.
Love you too. Even though you are the embodiment of the people I'm mad at right now.
And again,
people that can't wait because you're entitled.
At no point did I say I didn't like the Chris Paul deal. I just knew that people were going to read between lines, and it's so funny. The experiment's over. That is Mr. W right there.
Thanks, Pledge.
That is Alamo Fireworks right there. James Pledge, we're bringing the fireworks. We got to have you on again soon, my man.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. I always enjoy it.
Love you, my man.
See you, Pledge.
Love you guys.
That is my guy. That is my guy. And it's so funny. What you just saw right there of us yelling at each other about sports.
Yeah.
Is what we do in just real life. Just going to the bar, going wherever. That is what we do. Pleasure came fired up today, my man. I
love it.
I thought we were gonna have just like a nice little conversation, But he was bringing heat, and I thought that we were playing slow pitch softball. He wanted to come in here like Randy Johnson, and I respect it though.
Man, he landed you on the mat, gave you an uppercut, and had you on your back, dude. First round. Boom.
But you know what? A lot of what he's saying is not wrong. I will co-sign a lot of what he's saying is not wrong. But here's the thing. A lot of what I'm saying is not wrong either. It's all about perspective.
It's about perspective. But again, I get what Pledge is saying. And this is something that Spurs fans need to be accustomed to is you have to trust the process. And you look and see what's been happening. A lot of other outlets have been reporting that the Spurs aren't skipping steps. They understand what's going to happen with this team long term, and they've seen what happened when you try to win now and you sell your team's future.
The point I was trying to make, though, real fast, sorry for interrupting, is that the Spurs going out and getting a Lauri Markkanen, which, by the way, I would be 100% supportive of the Spurs getting rid of 4 or 5 first rounders to go.
Realistically, they could do that.
It's because it's not that difficult to match salaries. I mean, Zach Collins covers it, right? And you don't want Zach Collins, then go ahead and take Branham, Sohan, and whatever.
You could get Keldon. He's got what? His contract, it gets smaller at the end of the end of the contract.
So that's not the issue. The issue is the draft capital, right? Now, if he's not going to sign an extension, then that might be 1 or 2 first rounders. But if he's going to sign an extension with the Spurs to stay long term, which is what I want, still a guy in his 20s, you get 4 or 5 years out of that guy. I would give up 4 or 5 first rounders for him, right? That I would sign off on. The thing about it though is that, like Cowboy fan, you can say let free agency play out. That's the big argument that Pledger was having. He was screaming it. Let free agency play out. Yeah. It played out last year. Who did the Spurs get? Cedi Osman.
Yep.
That was it. Okay. So what I'm saying is the last time the Spurs went out there and actually got a free agent of substance or made a trade of somebody of substance, it was LaMarcus Aldridge. That was a decade ago. So as actual and factual, like TLC sang in the 90s of what Pledger was saying, that you got to let it all play out. Maybe it's just I don't have faith that it's going to play out. Maybe I just looked at what happened, just like Cowboy fan last year. Remember Cowboy fan last year?
Yeah. Pissed
off that nothing was going on. Cowboy fan pissed off this year because nothing is going on. They have not addressed anything in free agency.
Nothing,
right? What did the Spurs do? Exactly what the Cowboys did last year. They punted last year. And this year, getting Chris Paul III, as big of a name as it is, and it's going to sell some tickets, and you're going to get people with the CP3 jerseys on, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it signals to me that this is going to be a experimental year. It's going to be a developmental year.
Another experimental year.
Right. Because it doesn't lend itself to winning.
Yeah.
It doesn't lend itself to winning at all.
Hey, one thing that I wanted to share real quick here too is that our good friend, Sith Elias and Brandon Big Papi Medina, they're going to be actually hosting a space today. So, for everybody that's watching the show and you're a big supporter of what we're doing, these are, a subsidiary here. Sith is going to be part of, the network in some capacity here, talking about WWE. And
Nice.
we know that there's a big fan base for
Mhm.
wrestling. So tonight after Raw, make sure you go ahead and get into that Twitter Spaces with not only Seth Elias, but also Big Papi Brandon Medina, as they're going to go ahead and start a space, and they're going to be talking about the ongoings of what's happening in the wrestling world.
Very cool. Don't forget also to follow Sweep the League, our boy Rudy Campos
Oh,
Jr.
yeah,
doing his
definitely.
thing. And Rudy Campos Jr. is actually today's guest on Locked On Spurs, featuring Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5. Let's give Jeff a little bit of love.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that right now. So let me look for the video because I have this whole different system set up here. Locked On Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on threads at Jeff G Ken's 5 SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow not only on threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@LockedOnSpurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
Man, I subscribe on Spotify and on YouTube. You should too, man. He picked up over 100 new subscribers last week alone, Jeff
Nice.
Garcia doing a fantastic job. By the way, if you want to show my screen real fast, on his page real quick, he has, again, a link to his YouTube page for the chat that they're having about Chris Paul coming to the Spurs. We're going to have Sweep the League, Rudy Campos Jr. on there today. It's mentioning the fact that Drew Eubanks signed a big deal with the Jazz, so he's still in the NBA. Tobias Harris, we got to talk about this. Another free agent gone, another big name free agent gone. This is, again, as Play just said, let it all play out. It's already played out. Going on to Oklahoma City, signing Harkenstein. But what I wanted to show you, though, was an article on Kens5.com by Jeff Garcia talking about our good friends at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. They now have a new Spurs-inspired drink in honor of Stefan Castle.
Nice.
So we got to go check that out. They do a fantastic job over there at Mudslingers. I love them over there. Man, they have the little mini donuts they got over there. Amazing. So if you can go check them out. Again, Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee, which is on the north side. Big names are off the board, Joe. Big names are off the board, man. Paul George reaching a deal with the 76ers. Tyrese Maxey, an extension max deal with the Sixers as well. Hardenstein going to Oklahoma City. A lot of big names are off the board. Joe, there's nobody else to be had, dude, unless you're going to trade for a player at this point. I mean, who's the best free agent available right now? Tobias Harris, gone.
He's gone already. He's with Detroit.
Yeah. It's played out.
It is played out. And, the thing is that the Spurs, I think they got their guy. They got their guy in CP3. That was their move. They're going to go ahead and just stand pat right now, I believe, unless they go ahead and make some trade. If they do a trade, it'd probably just be waiving somebody like Devontae Graham, for example, if they can get another team that's maybe interested in a veteran point guard to go ahead and join their roster. That would mean that he would go to a team who's already looking to make the playoffs and want to add some veteran, leadership at the point guard position to their roster. The way that would work is that the Spurs would probably wind up getting some type of picks in lieu for, Devontae Graham, which is something that they find attractive, So that could happen. We have all the way up until July the 8th for them to go ahead and decide what they're going to do with Devontae Graham. He could also
let him walk. Be a trade. If the Spurs are going to do anything, it has to be a trade. I'm looking at Hoops Hype, who just updated their top free agents right now in the NBA. Number 1, LeBron James. He opted out of his deal with the Lakers. More than likely going to sign a 3-year max deal with the Lakers.
They said that he wants to go ahead and he's actually looking to maybe not make as much money if they can go ahead and pair him with another player.
Right.
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan. Can we see DeMar DeRozan coming back to San Antonio?
I don't.
Would you want a DeMar DeRozan coming back to San Antonio?
I wouldn't mind DeMar DeRozan coming back to San Antonio. Real talk. I thought he did pretty good when he was here with the San Antonio Spurs. The problem is if the Spurs did sign somebody like DeMar DeRozan and they add that leadership to the team, everybody would instantly be upset because they'd be like, oh, this is going to be a 500 team. They're going to be below 500. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs now with the roster they have. So why is adding, somebody like DeMar DeRozan bad? I think it would be a win-win, but it's not going to translate into 40 wins.
It's also an older player.
Yeah,
Can you turn my
exactly.
chat on real
Yeah,
fast?
yeah, sure.
Other names that are available right now: Klay Thompson, Buddy Hield, Tyus Jones, who's Trey Jones' brother, Malik Beasley, Sadiq Bey, Mortiz Wagner, Kyle Anderson, Gary Trent Jr., Spencer Dinwiddie, Isaac Okoro, Caleb Martin, DeAnthony Melton, Dario Saric, Gordon Hayward, Precious Anchua. These are the best that's available right now.
Yeah.
So this is why I was kind of going back at Pledger a little bit, was the fact that free agency already has played out. None of those guys are going to make the team any better.
Look at Tavares says, no, they have to make more moves to not be fined to meet the salary cap. No, they don't have to make moves to meet the salary cap. If they don't meet the cap, what happens is that money gets dispersed amongst the players, which is what happened last season.
Yeah. So everyone gets a raise.
Exactly.
For a 1-year raise.
Yep.
Morby coming out saying best free agent is Hawk Tua.
God.
You know what? We'll come back to this. Speaking of the Hawk Tua girl, let's go ahead and play that entertainment bump real fast.
Sure. Let me go ahead and get that for you.
Let's do some entertainment. The Hawk Tua girl was out and about this weekend. That's right. She was in Nashville with the let me see what's the name, was Zach Bryan. That's it. Let's show the photo right here.
Yeah.
She got on stage, screamed Hawk Tua into the microphone, and then walked off the stage. Her 15 minutes up.
I think so, dude.
Here she is right here on TikTok, going up on stage, screaming Hawk Tua, and then just walking off.
I think it's played out already, dude. I think her 15 minutes of fame are pretty much up.
You know what? I respect it though. I'm a big fan, and speaking of which, someone I am a fan of, I know I'm not going to Felicia Combs if you want to get this off real fast.
Man.
Let me see here. Spacey Casey. Do you know who Spacey Casey is?
No, who is that?
Let me see here. It's Casey Musgraves. Now, this is what I like about country music, is that the country music stars actually are part of the people, dude. And Casey Musgraves actually performed at that concert there. And I'm looking for the video, but I can't find it. But she was walking the streets of Nashville, going up Broadway Street where all those bars are.
No.
No one cared. No one cared. Dude, I would have been floored if I had seen her out there, dude. Would have been floored. Here's video of her walking the streets of Nashville. No one bugging her.
Look, she is wearing the shorts with the cowboy boots. So
that is true.
What that does for you.
Looking like she goes to Texas State. Is this the Demon Mike segment?
I think so, man.
Casey Musgraves, who goes by Spacey Casey on Instagram. Multi-Grammy Award winner. She won Album of the Year, I think, back in 2019. She's amazing, dude. I love her new album. But the thing about it, though, is this. She's filming this in the middle of downtown, and no one's bugging her. How is that even possible? After a concert. Joe, your thoughts?
I don't know, man. Maybe they just didn't recognize her.
Dude, she's a country superstar. How would you not recognize her? BET Awards were last night. They were making their in memorandum of, basically saying, here are all the celebrities who have passed. One of the names they honored was O.J. Simpson.
Oh God!
So all the names that came up, everyone got a clap, right? And then when they put O.J. Simpson's name, there was like 4 seconds of pause, and then there was like some claps. Okay, your thoughts on O.J. Simpson being honored?
Why? At this point, why? I mean, his storied career as far as what he did when he was an athlete. Yes, I get that and all that, but he also has that past.
Yeah,
that you cannot just like turn a blind eye on. I mean, at this point, I don't even know why he was included. I mean, that's just a bad move.
I thought it was funny. Caitlin Clark yesterday, by the way, they won a game Indiana won a game. They're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. But yesterday, if you want to talk some WNBA talk,
Yeah.
a record broken by Angel Reese.
I saw
10 straight doubles. That had never happened before in WNBA history.
good on her.
And
man.
she's doing this as a rookie. Dude, I swear to God, man, if they have her as rookie of the year, Caitlin Clark fans would lose their collective minds.
Did you see Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner? They went and gave Caitlin Clark some love before their game got tipped off.
Matt Lerner asked the question. You said he was convicted of murder. In a civil suit, he was.
He was.
Civil suit, he was found liable of their deaths. So he wasn't found criminally convicted of murder, but civilly he was. Remember, he had to go find the killer? That's the reason why he was signing autographs and hiding money.
Matt Lerma says that's my girl, Angel Reese.
Oh, dude. Angel Reese is playing so well these days, man.
She's playing really good.
She's playing big boy basketball down there, man. She's a good player.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that she just, a rookie as well, kind of came in early on in the league, started off a little slow, but I mean, she's hitting her stride now.
Now, Seth Elias brings up a really good point. He says on our chat here, it says, broke my heart when they asked Clark what the legends have taught her. Did you see this interview?
No, I didn't see that one.
They asked her, what have the agents taught what have the legends taught you? And she goes, they haven't taught me anything. They don't seek me out. Now, she did have a weird offensive foul over the weekend. I don't know if you saw that, but she was called for an offensive foul that was phantom. Didn't really exist.
Wow.
Here it is right here.
All right, let's show it.
According to ESPN. She got called for an offensive foul on this play. I mean, I get it. If you say that she launched herself into the player, but that player is so out of position, lunging forward. I don't know, dude. That was kind of lame.
Well, she's a rookie. She's not going to get that call.
I know, but I don't think that's an offensive foul for anybody to be made, dude.
Jeez, man, that's questionable. Questionable.
Joe, what you do this weekend?
Oh, this weekend I hung out with our friends, Steph Mejia, and Rick Fernandez.
Oh, you saw the fights.
We saw the fights together.
Tell me all about it.
On Saturday, man. It was a great fight. We had San Antonio's own Bam, versus Estrada. Bam came out the winner, victorious. He went ahead and get Estrada with a body shot, rocked him, man, dropped him to the mat, and that's all she wrote. Bam comes back to San Antonio as a world champion, dude. So
that's badass.
Congratulations to Bam. But it was a great night, man. We hung out Saturday. We were outside for a little bit during the daytime, had a setup outside. We're watching some of the preliminary fights. We're also watching UFC 303. We're also watching the Teofimo Lopez fight as well. And it was fun, man. They had the kids over. Everybody got in the pool for a little bit. I was barbecuing some hamburgers, some hot dogs, and we're all drinking some beer, watching the fight. Good night, man.
That's badass, man. My Sunday was just doing nothing, man. I was just watching old movies just on repeat. Ended up going for a 5-mile walk run, if you will, towards the end of the night, but I just did nothing, man, other than just watch TV. Thinking about going to the Spurs Club tonight, though. Hanging out, grab a couple of drinks.
Good on you.
That's what I'm thinking about tonight.
Enjoy it.
ESPN's Brian Windhorst right now is saying on the Hoop Collective podcast that he believes that the Jazz are going to trade Lauri Markkanen, and there's a very good chance he's going to be on the move. This is where it gets interesting, Joe, because, again, as James Pledger alluded to earlier today, it's going to cost.
It is going to cost, but the thing is, if you're the Spurs, you have nothing but picks. You got picks galore, right? And you're looking at the 2025 draft that's going to be coming up. If Markkanen's your guy, pull the trigger on that trade now. If they let him go and he goes into free agency, you might have to go ahead and just go all in with your cap. If that's going to be the player that you're going to go after. You can get him right now. If he buys into the culture, he likes it here. Mm-hmm. He likes playing alongside Wemby. That might entice him to stay here long term if they want to.
He screams Spur, dude.
I mean,
Lauri Markkanen, he's Finnish. He screamed Spur. He played for Arizona in college. Was a first-round draft pick, a lottery pick back in 2017. One-time All-Star. The guy is he is the ideal Robin to Wemby's Batman. And I hate using that Batman Robin reference, but I don't know any other way of putting it because this guy goes out there and he shoots lights out, dude. This is a guy who averaged 23.2 points per game last year. The year before, averaged 25.6. He's a bucket, dude. Before that, he was averaging, 14, 15, 18 points. But the last 2 seasons, 23 points, 25.6. From free throws, 90% last year.
Yeah, but what is Spurs fan going to say? He's going to take the touches away from Wemby.
So what? This is the guy that he should take the touches away from Wemby. 40% from 3 last year, 39% from the year before. Career 38% three-point shooter.
Yeah, I would not mind marketing alongside Wemby. While Wemby's stats might take a little bit of a dip, at the end of the day, it's going to bring much-needed balance to that starting five.
Alleviates the pressure. Wemby can't do it on his own. I mean, it's funny because you say it's going to take touches away. We just saw the NBA Finals where Tatum and Brown both were getting 25 to 30 points per game.
Yeah.
We saw Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic.
How many touches do you need to get that?
I mean, they got their share of touches.
Yeah.
And I look at a lineup because marketing can play a 3 or 4.
Yeah, he's a versatile player.
So if I saw a lineup there of Wembanyama at center, Markkanen and Sohan in the front court, with a backcourt of Vassell, Castle, CP3, that's a playoff team.
It is a playoff team. They could be flirting with the play-in, because you need at least
48 this year. 48 this year.
48 wins gets you into the play-in.
Yeah, Rockets were 41 and 41, and they were 6 games behind the what was needed. If you look at Markkanen, he is that guy. I mean, when I saw LeBron James just a few weeks ago talk about him, he goes, I marvel at Markkanen, and he was just talking about that is the player to go after. And I know the Spurs fans get enamored with the draft capital, but you got to spend it on somebody. And I would much rather spend it on somebody like Lauri Markkanen, who is 27 years old.
Yeah, and this is the thing that Spurs fans have to remember, man. If you're going to go after somebody in the draft, that's a project.
Yeah.
That's not going to pan out right away. It could pan out after a couple seasons. If you want this team to get better instantly and be vying for, let's say, going into the playoffs and vying for a championship at some point, I think Markkanen's your guy that you go after now.
He is, dude. I mean, look at that, 7 feet tall. He's kind of like a baby Nowitzki.
Look at that, Gilbert Padilla. I like this. Markkanen and Wemby will make each other better.
They will,
no doubt.
And then you add Castle, and Markkanen can play some D. You add Castle, you add Vassell to that mix, dude. That's a special team right there.
Hey, look at this. JHNSB trade Vassell for Lauri. Book it.
The problem is you can't, because Vassell makes 30 million or 29.3, and Markkanen makes 17.
You got to make the salaries match up.
The salaries need to match up. So then, what is the sticking point here? What if they want to have young pieces instead of Zach Collins? What if they don't want Devontae Graham? What if they want Devontae Graham and Sohan? What if they want Devontae? Because I'm not saying Sohan because you hate Sohan.
Gotta make the numbers.
I'm looking at the numbers in my head. Devontae Graham makes what, 12 million? Sohan makes 5. 12 plus 5 is 17. He makes 17. How do you get to that 17 marker? And then how much in draft capital do you give up? Look at the Spurs salary cap for next year, according to basketballreference.com.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
There you go.
Okay, so let's make 17 happen. Well, Keldon could do it.
That's what I was saying.
Keldon's 19. Keldon makes 19. You can make it just Keldon. You can make it just Zach Collins, right? But they may not be happy with that. But either way, Devontae Graham, if he's 12 million, you have to add Sohan. If you have Devontae Graham, you have to add Branham and maybe Champagny, or if Champagny does come back, or you have Devontae Graham along with Blake Wesley, Devontae Graham along with Wesley and City Sissoko, Devontae Graham with Mamu and City. That gets to it. Who's saying there? Morvey saying Wemby Markkanen could rival Tatum and Brown. I don't doubt it. I mean, that's the move to make. And if that happens, I'd be a happy man.
Hey, we also got to go ahead and welcome one of our viewers here back to the chat here, to the show. Matt Lerma, he's been, taking a little bit of a break, a little bit of hiatus. He's saying that he's been, welcome. Hey guys, I haven't been seeing the show for like a month. It's great to be back on the live chat.
Dude, welcome back, Matt. Every day I turn on TikTok and you're there, dude. You're my For You page, dude. So the algorithm says I should be following you more than I do. I already do. I mean, I follow you on Twitter and on TikTok, but it's funny because like every time I go on, I see your face. So you've been very, very active on there, getting those numbers up, those followers up.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Matt. We appreciate you coming back, man. We'll be talking with him soon, probably too. We'll have him on as a guest, you know.
It'd be great. It'd be great if tomorrow we come back and we bask in the glory of the Spurs getting Lauri Markkanen. But it's gonna be like Lauri Markkanen's going to Dallas. You can just feel it, dude.
You're not gonna go get your CP3 jersey?
No. I mean, and it's funny because people think that I don't like the move. I want him to teach Stephon Castle.
Yeah.
I want him to teach Trey Jones.
He's a great locker room presence to have.
I never said it was a bad move. What I was saying was that it wasn't a move for the future.
No.
It wasn't a move. It wasn't getting because Pledger was like earlier, it's like, well, you're saying to bring in veterans. I didn't say bring in the oldest point guard of all time. Because again, Chris Paul III is going to be the first point guard in NBA history to play for 20 seasons.
Yeah.
So that's not what I said. What I'm looking at is looking at SI.com, by the way. The odds are who's Lauri Markkanen's next team going to be?
And who is it?
They have, according to Bovada, Spurs with the best chance at 6-1 odds.
They just got to pull the trigger on that trade. They got to make it work.
I liked what Pledger said about the fact that 2025 first rounder is basically 2 first rounders, right? If you have that Atlanta pick. So again, how about this, Joe? Pull the trigger, yes or no? Atlanta first round pick. Let's say Markkanen decides to extend.
Okay.
Markkanen 4. Devontae Graham or Markkanen for Keldon, along with Atlanta's 25 pick.
Yeah. Oh, put it down.
Atlanta's 25 pick. You know, the Boston one that we have down the road. I mean, we'd have to compile at least 3 or 4 first rounders for him.
You would. I mean, but again, you know, packaging some of those picks. That's why you're stockpiling these picks to possibly make some moves. If you feel like Markkanen's your guy, pull the trigger now. Why are you going to wait? Why are you going to wait for the next, offseason for him to become a restricted free agent? Unrestricted free agent, the price is going to go up even more.
Hey, look, we got Memo in here giving me some fire over here saying it's understandable Mike is skittish on the Spurs' future by picking up an older point guard.
Yeah, but the thing is,
I mean, if it's a player coach type of thing, great.
You know, the thing is with Chris Paul is that Chris Paul can actually help run the offense out there on the court because he's more of a vocal leader. So he can be out there and he can be telling these young guys, hey, do this, do that, yelling out, some information.
Maybe part of it's the fact that I've cheered against Chris Paul III my entire life. This would be like getting Harden to me 10 years from now at the end of his career.
Hey, but Chris Paul brings you that leadership out on the court. And like I said, he's vocal. So if they mess up, he's going to let them know.
There's a good chance Chris Paul is going to be injured half the season anyway.
Could be, dude. But I mean, if you put him out there on the court at the same time with Castle, they could play together and he can actually help Castle become a better player faster.
His season ended this year with a fractured left hand. I know that he has other issues going on. I mean, come on, he's played for 20 seasons.
Yeah.
Of course, he's going to have
got some mileage.
Ton of injuries.
Got mileage, man.
Dude, this is like a Mercedes with 250,000 miles on it, dude. That's what it is.
Hey, but you got it at a good price.
And it's warranted for 1 year.
But it's a Mercedes.
Gilbert Padilla bringing up the point that CP3 is not likely staying on this team. He says,
no, he's going to be if the Spurs
maybe a trade deadline deal down the road.
Maybe, but I mean they got him for 1 season. It's not like they went ahead and offered him a 3-year deal.
I'm looking up Chris Paul injury, and it's like, which one do you want to look up?
Oh God, hamstring is one of the big ones. It's always
a hamstring with that guy.
Always the hamstring, dude, and in the playoffs too.
Okay, so here's Fox Sports. All the injuries that Chris Paul has had.
All right, let's take a look.
April 2024 hamstring, January 24 hand. He had a really bad illness last December. He had a leg injury in November of last year, a groin injury last May. He had a hip injury, a heel injury, a thumb injury. This is all last 5 years. he got COVID. He had a shoulder injury, a hamstring injury again, an ankle injury, a hand, a back injury, another hammy, another hammy, another hammy, a hip, another hammy. Dude, we'd be lucky to get 50 games from this guy.
What is that phrase that I keep saying? He's seen too many winters.
Father time is undefeated, my man. It is, dude. We're an hour and 40 in. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. We'll be back tomorrow.
One thing that we got to do before we wrap it up, we got to go ahead and give some love to MCS General Contracting.
Stay on board. We'll do more.
MCS General Contracting, more than 30 years of combined experience in concrete placement. They are the best in the business. Honest pricing, high quality work. They get going on house foundations, driveways, concrete patio decks. If you want to extend the deck, extend the driveway. If you're a business and you need to put together a slab, a parking lot, or other concrete placement services or sidewalks, reach out to MCS General Contracting at 210-774-9155. They're confident in their skills, so give Chris Leha over at MCS General Contracting a call at 210-774-9155. And thank you for being a sponsor of this show. He is MCS General Contracting, a sponsor of the show. They're close personal friends of ours, so much so that Mike can attest to the quality of their craftsmanship.
Oh, they do a fantastic job, man. They did a sidewalk on the side of my house, an extension to my covered patio. But Spernandez, who co-hosted with us on Friday of last week, did a fantastic job, along with Brandon. You can show my screen.
Yeah.
Making fun of me already, saying, Pledger coming at me, going, do you want to see a dead body? That he went all Ralphie on me.
Oh, God. But that's a relationship you and Pledge have. You all just can go at each other, but at the end of the day, you're like, hey, let's go ahead and have a drink,
Oh, well, Pledger and I, dude, we spent 5 years on the radio together, 3 or 4 years on the radio together. And half the time, we were yelling at each other half the time. See, that's why I was like, I'm going to bring my friend in. And instead, I brought my former coworker in. That was the problem.
Oh, God.
Now, Pledger, there was a one time, dude, like I took some meds and I got zonked out. I was telling him the story. I got zonked out and the show was about to start. And I'm doing this, dude. And I'm like, man, I'm having a bad effect from these meds. And I called Pledger over. And I was like, Pledge, I'm just going to enter the show and I'm going to give it to you. And you cook, right? Cook for a while.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like the fog clears out, and I'm like,
"You woke up?"
I'm like, "Wow!" I'm like, "Pledge, where am I?" And he goes, "Oh," I'm like, "Is this second segment already?" And he goes, "Yeah, we're in a commercial break." I was like, "Dude, I don't even remember what we did the first segment."
Man.
And he goes, "Dude, you were hysterical." And I went back and I listened to the show, and I was like, "What the hell?" I was having medical, and he's like, "Just take weed like the rest of us."
Yeah. Be a man, take some weed.
I'm all jacked up on meds.
Man, that'd be the equivalent of you eating the whole gummy after what the instructions tell you. The guy at the head shop will be like, just eat a quarter of this gummy. Don't eat the whole thing.
Yeah.
I ate the whole thing. Nothing happened to me. And then you'd be 5 minutes before the show. Whoa.
Dude, I had an edible when I was in Vegas a couple years ago. It's legal over there.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Dude, it was the worst. I was in my hotel room wondering whether or not I was gonna live that night. And I'm gonna go to sleep and just hope that I wake up.
Contemplating life.
I remember I was at the D casino.
Oh no.
Going, why the hell am I here at this casino?
Did they have to go in and get you a room again?
No, I made myself to my room somehow. I think I'll say at the Golden Nugget.
Oh, God,
I made my way to the Nugget, and I'm there going, I might die tonight. This is a little bit, and I've told my daughter, I don't care if you do pot, just don't do edibles, because edibles will F you up.
You ordered 100 tacos. Jack in the Box. I'll take an order. 100 tacos. Sent to my room.
Dude, I haven't had a Jack in the Box taco in forever.
They're so nasty, dude.
I swear, if I had one today, just the grease on it. It is the greasiest.
You don't even know what's in it, dude. Like the mystery meat that they put in there. What is it, dude? I don't think you want to know. No. There's much better options. But when you were drunk back in the day, that was one of the go-to spots.
Yeah, I was get two tacos with the jumbo jack.
The little bit of the sauce, the hot sauce.
Jumbo jack with cheese. Ugh. I feel like having Arby's.
Arby's again, bro. That just sticks right to you, Mike. You're gonna have to run that off Be sweating.
Dude, I ran 5 miles yesterday, man.
Be sweating it out. I know you called me. You're like, hey, we're gonna do this for the show tomorrow, and my wife's like, you coming in the pool? I'm like, hold on, I'm on my way.
I know you were like, I gotta get off the phone. I gotta get off the phone.
She was already. Everybody's all dressed. They're all in the pool, and she's like, you coming in the pool or not? I was like, I'm on my way.
Let's see if we have any good last second chat. Chat's coming in. Tim Gonzalez says Mike was hallucinating off Flintstone gummies. Midtown Texas with that comment. Nice. Mike overdosed on vitamins.
Oh my
dude! I swear to you, man. Do you ever take medication like whether it be Sudafed or NyQuil, and it just like gets you?
No, the one thing that got me was like earlier in the year, I had this like shoulder pain so bad, and my elbow, like I could not move them. And they were stiff, you know. That was when we're going to the Mike Taylor barbecue, right? Mm-hmm. So before I went to the Taylor barbecue, I went to the ER just to see like what is going on. There's something wrong here. I don't know if I got something dislocated or what. And that's when the ladies are like, well, we're gonna have to give you a steroid shot because you have inflammation there, and that's why you're in so much pain. They went ahead and gave me the steroid shot, and they're like, we're gonna give you muscle relaxers, but do not take these if you're gonna be driving because they're just gonna zonk you out.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Put the prescription in and all that. I was out there at the Mike Taylor barbecue, and I stayed out there as long as I could. And then I was like, man, I got to go home and get this, you know, these muscle relaxers because this pain is just killing me, dude. As soon as I took it, you know, and like not even 15, 20 minutes later, even if you want to stay awake, you can't. You just like,
yeah,
you just black out. And then like 2-3 hours later, you wake up and you're like coming out of a fog, like, where am I? What happened?
Dude, I swear to you, dude, I was sweating bullets. Hey, show my screen real fast.
Yeah.
Look who got the bag.
Oh, there you go, Derek
White. Woj bomb just 1 minute ago. Thank you, Mario Cavazos, on our stream for pointing this out.
Mario.
Boston Celtics guard Derek White has agreed to a 4-year, $125.9 million contract extension to stay with the Boston Celtics. The deal includes a player option. So I'm going to get my math out here. 125.9 divided by 4, right? 125.9 divided by 4. Dude's getting paid $31.5 million.
Hey, man, he deserves it.
Derek White's getting paid $31.5 million.
Paid.
He's a good player, dude.
Hey, man, he's going to have to put some of that money away to get to those fake teeth.
$31.5 million?
He's going to have to get his fake teeth fixed because he's always getting injured, you know?
$31.5 million for Derek White.
That's a lot of money.
Dude. That's a lot of money.
But that's good, though, man.
That's a lot of money. Congratulations, man. I mean, he deserves to be paid. He does deserve to be paid.
And look at that. What happened? He left San Antonio and got the bag.
How much did he make last year? Let me see. What do you think he made last year? He made 18 last year.
Yeah, that's almost double, dude.
it's a good business, baby.
Yeah.
It's a good business.
Look at this. Progressive Perspective says, eat the whole bag, be a man of the gummies. No, you don't want to do that.
Dude, I can't tell you how scared I was when I was going on air and I was sweating bullets. And I'm like, where the hell am I? And it's like, they had the whole halftime. Bum, 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 bum. And I look over, I mute myself. And I go, Pledger, sit down. And then we had a whole conversation that I swear to God, I don't even remember. But I came out of the fog after about 12 minutes.
Jeez, man.
Stupid meds.
Yeah, we need to have a roundtable, though, man. We're going to have to reach out to Taylor and Rudy so we can go ahead and get their perspective on all this trades, you know, and all these things that are going on in the league. But specifically, what's happening with the San Antonio Spurs?
Oh, I didn't tell you. I'm not going to say yet. Okay. I didn't tell you.
You didn't tell me.
We might have a big guest here
in
the next week or so.
Oh, and speaking of that, I got to get with Sean, dude, because Sean needed something from me. Sorry, Sean. I remembered, brother. I've just been a little busy.
Midtown say Mike going to blame the Pledger loss on meds. Dude, yeah, you know, I don't want to say it was a 10-8 round, but it was a 10-9.
10-9. Oh my God.
I thought I was gonna have a friendly conversation, but he wanted to rip heads off, and I wasn't prepared for it. What can I say?
Hey, but I
respect it though, because I know next time I have him on here, I'll fucking rip him a new one, dude.
Hey, it's fun, dude. Having Pledge on. We need to have him on again, dude. And you know what? We might have Jeff on as well this week. I'm gonna get with Jeff right after this show.
Yeah.
And text him because I know he's going to be super busy because of all the news that's going on right now.
Mario coming out and saying cocaine is a hell of a drug. I died multiple times. Jesus, man.
What do they have? What do they have? Those things? The shock, that defibrillator to shock you back in. Just make sure you got one of those nearby. He dies. He dies.
Well, what's the line? Oh, I said, "Damn!" from Pulp Fiction.
Oh God,
very nice.
Where they give you that shot of adrenaline to the heart.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Let's call it a show. We'll be back tomorrow, but chances are in the next week or so we'll have a pretty big guest, man. Pretty big.
Look
guest.
at Mario Cavazos. They're already trying to pick their guy.
Matt Lerma. They used to work at a hospital. Many people died.
Hey, thanks a lot, Sam Salinas. He says, good show, boys. Good show. Well, you guys are the ones that make the show good. And hey,
yeah,
today, Pledge was good for ratings, bro.
Oh, he was. That's my boy.
Got to get him on again.
Joe, thanks for being on. Again, MCS General Contracting does a fantastic job. Subscribe to Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs, and James Pledger's on 6 to 7, Monday through Friday, extra innings on San Antonio Sportstar 94.1 and sasportstar.com. He's going to be talking about Chris Paul III later on tonight when it comes to it all. Subscribe to SA Sports Star as well. My name is Mike Jimenez. That's Joe Garcia. We'll be back tomorrow. Everyone play nice.
See you, boys.